And Friends comes away with a rebound and a chance to take the lead. 33-32, Emerlehu going for the lead from the left wing. Emerlehu with the triple on the move, ready to run her from 8 feet. No, Jackson snares down the miss and then puts it home for the right side. Jackson in double figures for Friends. Trey Reed looking inside, off to Emerlehu, turns down to 3, kicks it left wing to Trey Reed. He drives in the lane, now to the rim, scoops it up and in, and he got fouled. 7. Tabor ahead with 1:40 to go in overtime. Here's Garner, strong move to the cup on Zoe Rust. She throws it up and makes it, and she gets fouled for one more. Friends ahead, Barberry goes up, and he flushes it down. Barberry taking flight and getting a body in the process. What's going on, everyone? Voice of the Friends Falcons, Pat Strathman here with another edition of the Friends Basketball Show. We're running out of these because we are winding down here in the 2023-24 season. KCAC postseason tournament is just around the corner. The season is winding down. Kind of crazy to think about that, considering it felt like we just started, but we are here once again at Walk-On Sports Bistreaux, one of the best places to come catch a game in town. They have excellent game day food with that southern twist. No matter where you sit in this place, you're going to have a great view of the game that you really want to watch. They have a great bar area. They have a great patio area, so when things warm up, you can come out and be outside. It's a really cool venue. Come out to Walk-On Sports Bistreaux, located on Mays Road, and we appreciate their support of Friends Athletics. And, well, Friends Athletics, the winter season winding down, and the Friends women's basketball team. Nice thing is we know that Friends is going to have a home postseason game as the Friends women's basketball team right now, currently number 3 in the KCAC standings. And to talk more about that, we welcome in the head women's basketball coach at Friends University, Dean Jaderston. Coach, we'll get to the most recent game here in just a little bit, but let's go back to a win against Ottawa, and then we'll kind of work our way to the Tabor game on Saturday. Going to Ottawa, it's always a tough place to play. The Braves are kind of a unique team. They've been injury-plagued this year, but you can't just go into Wilson Fieldhouse and expect to win. It's always a tough place to play where 5 people sounds like 50, and you guys pulled away with an 87-72 win. Lots of offense in that game. Let's go back to the win over the Braves during that win streak. Your thoughts on that game?
Yeah, we always going into Ottawa is different than going anywhere in the conference. There's a few gyms in the nation where you get this echo in the gym, and it's a factor. We actually have a soundtrack of a game in Ottawa that we play during practice just to try and help our kids acclimate to how hard it is to communicate. It's hard to call plays. It's hard to signal stuff to each other, so how much they have to focus and communicate to play there. And Ottawa's talented. They've got a lot of quick guards who can shoot it. They got Allen back, who went for 28 against us, so they are just a dangerous offensive team. And it was one of those interesting games. They went small on us, and when teams go small on us, it's an intriguing matchup for us because one of our strengths is how well Taylor Jackson protects the rim. Mm-hmm. If you go small with 5 shooters on the floor, the question is, do you put her out on the perimeter and take her away, or do you do some zone and some matchups and see what happens there? And first half, we were just traveling, getting a feel. They were hitting a bunch of shots to start the game. And then third quarter, I thought we had a phenomenal third quarter. I just saw the team take another step of just focus. They locked in at both ends of the court, and all of a sudden, what was a pretty close game and a half, I think there's close to a 30-point lead at the end of the third quarter. Mm-hmm. And then it was getting some kids some chances to play and try some different things. But it's always, they're a scary team. They on any given night they're going to put up points. They're a team that led St. Mary with, I think, a minute to go, and so they can score with anybody. it was a really good road win to just keep that winning streak going.
Yeah, how many games have you been a part of where the opposing team had 90 shot attempts?
It's
Attempts.
bizarre.
That was the one thing I saw. Like when I looked at the box score, there were two things that stood out. That was number one.
Yep.
Seeing 90 shot attempts in a game, that does not happen very often.
They were out trying to get points, and some teams will try and stop you. Some teams will try and outscore you, and Ottawa's going to try and outscore you. It was a really unusual game, and I was real proud of our team, just the way they locked in third quarter. It was like, okay, let's go do what we do. And at that point, at the end of the third quarter, like I said, the game was pretty much over, and we could actually rest some kids in the middle of a grind of a conference season.
Yeah, and to take the next step with the other thing that caught my eye, Corey Babcock with a double-double, had 10 rebounds in that game. Your thoughts on Corey getting 10 rebounds? That was the one thing that stood out to me too was, Corey's known for her ability to make shots. She's so much more than that, though. You talked about her defense before, but to see 10 rebounds coming from her, that was really impressive.
So one of the things we struggle with, because Taylor and Ray and Cassie rebound so well, teams that shoot a lot of threes, there's a lot of long boards, and our guards can sometimes get lazy just expecting that our bigs are going to get the rebounds, which they tend to do. Going into that game, it was we've got to box and keep space on the perimeter. You can't crowd the basket because there's going to be a lot of long rebounds. And Corey did a great job both of keeping space, but then also that game she was going up into traffic and pulling some rebounds out that were I thought she was just really tough. So yeah, she does a lot of little things that people don't realize, and defensively she covers so many bases for us. It's been really fun to see her as the season progressed to really kind of own that role and step in and be a multifaceted basketball player.
Well, that was win number 10 in a row. Win number 11 in a row was certainly meaningful. A win over the St. Mary Spires, 61-54. We all know how good St. Mary has been this year. Annie Kelly's squad is just so tough, and you just had a feeling, even there in the fourth quarter, in which you guys felt like you had a comfortable lead, you knew that there was going to be one more push coming from St. Mary, and there certainly was. The Spires had that push there in the fourth quarter to make things interesting, a chance to actually take the lead. But, hey, your team never faltered. Your team never once backed down. And, of course, Lauren McIver is the one who comes up with a big shot, step-back three to truly finish the job to get the 7-point win in order to keep you in the hunt for a potential KCAC championship in the regular season. That was one of those. We talked about you beating Sterling, and that was a big one. The next step was trying to get a win against St. Mary, a team that's been so tough to stop these last couple of years, but you finally got it done. Your thoughts on that game?
Yeah, we had a little – I think they'd won 3 in a row against us or 4 in a row. They have a really talented team, and a team that's hard for us to guard because they'll put 5 kids out who can shoot the 3. And they've got a player, Sims, who guards Taylor Jackson pretty well. Makes her really work for stuff, and Sims is really physical. And St. Mary, you got to guard everybody, and you got to guard the kids that come off the bench. I don't know if anybody has more firepower in the conference than they do across the board. So it was critical. It was the biggest. It felt like the biggest regular season game I've been at since I've been here. Most on the line. Had a great crowd. St. Mary was ready for it. Our team was ready for it. I thought it was imperative the last 2 or 3 times we've played them, we've got off to bad starts. We just struggled at the beginning of games, and to come out and hit some shots in the first quarter, our kids were really, really focused and intentional, and got off to a really good start in the first quarter. And you knew St. Mary was going to make a push. They're too good of a basketball team, and I thought it was one of the best college basketball games, just going back and watching it after the game. You've got teams going on runs, teams making hard shots, but teams were both locked in on defense. I thought defensively on both sides it was a really, really tough, well-played game. And they did. They made their runs. They came down the stretch, and they narrowed the gap. We hit some free throws, and then, with all the pressure on her, it was great. Lauren had missed a 3 the possession before, and she didn't hesitate in this one. Got to her spot, took the shot, and you could just see all the stress go out of our team at that moment. That was one of those. We'll never forget that one this year. But got the monkey off our back. We figured out some things. Our team got really disciplined defensively against St. Mary. You can't gamble. You can't open up gaps because they're hard to trap, because if you trap them, there's a shooter always someplace. And so you have to just do your job, stay in your lane, make them shoot contested shots, and then rebound the heck out of the ball. And I thought that day we were as focused and dialed in defensively as we've been all season.
Yeah, and then you brought up the free throws. If you have Taylor Jackson and Ray go combined 12 for 12 from the free throw line, that's going to help.
Mm-hmm. It's, free throws are toughness and concentration and repetitions. You got to get your practice in. You got to get free throws up. But then the game, you got to be able to be tough, and you got to be able to focus and let go of everything. And they were both really dialed in that day.
Yeah, for sure. Talking with Dean Jaderston, the head women's basketball coach at Friends University, here on the Friends Basketball Show from Walk-On Sports Bistreaux, broadcasting on ESPN Wichita 92.3 FM. That was the 11th consecutive win at that time, getting that W against St. Mary, and went to number 12 after a win against Southwestern in Winfield, 81-66. And, Coach, naturally, when you get that big win, the tough part is always the game right after it. Everyone can point to, Saturday at Tabor and stuff like that, but when you get those big wins, when you are so involved emotionally and physically and mentally, and then the game's over and you celebrate and you relax a little bit, it's sometimes hard to kind of jumpstart that engine the next time that you need it. And at Southwestern, I think it's probably fair to say that maybe there was a little bit of a carryover from that game after the win on Saturday.
Yeah, I don't know if there's ever been more of we call them trap games. You got St. Mary on Saturday. You're playing Tabor the next Saturday for a chance to be at the conference, top of the conference. And in between, you've got this scrappy team that hasn't won a conference game yet. And so you do everything you can. Hey, they can play. They're college basketball players. They compete. We're going on the road. You still have a little different dynamic that's going on there. We approached that one pretty intentionally in terms of first half and second half we played very differently. We were trying to work on some things that we wanted to use on Saturday. It's kind of a chance to experiment a little bit with some rotations and there's some things that we'd seen when you're winning consistently. You go on a winning streak. We always talk about the slippage that happens. Things that you're not quite as intentional about, but you're winning, so you don't worry about. For us, one of them was transition D. We were doing a good job early in the season, and you could just see our transition D slipping a little. Our transition offense, we'd gotten out of some of our habits, so we were trying to focus on that first half to give our kids some very specific things and goals to work on. Southwestern came out; they were just scrappy. They were just hitting shots and playing, and we played a lot of kids too. We played some different rotations. It's a chance this time of year people to get tired. Their legs are tired. We used a lot of emotion in the St. Mary game, and you could just see that a little bit. So first half, again, we kind of, like very similar to the Ottawa game. Just we're there. Nobody's panicking, but it's kind of a grind. Second half, we came out, went to some things that were a little bit better fit for playing against Southwestern, and, again, had a nice third quarter that opened the game up, and, okay, this is who we are. Let's do it. And then, again, we got a chance to play a lot of kids. So it was one I was happy when it was over. I was happy when it was over. It's those games, they can trip you up. They can ruin your momentum. They can get you out of certain habits. And we got out of there, got the win, played well enough to be prepared for Saturday. And, I was just happy when we were done.
Yeah. Well, very important, though, as you brought up, being able to rotate in some different players. You have double-digit minutes for Sadie Hotman, Tia Hagan, Ellie Munns, Ashlyn Ryle, and you have over 20 minutes for Jaden Glasgow. So to be able to have those players get over double-digit minutes. Not only is that important for this season, but also get some more confidence for next year too as well.
Well, absolutely. We lose one player this year. And we've got a player in that's just practicing with us that'll be eligible next year. We've got some kids that we've already signed, and we've got a great JV group. So we're not recruiting a ton of kids, but we'll add another couple players that we think will give us some significant varsity help. But for those players to develop, they've got to get those consistent minutes. They've got to play through. One of the tough things when you're coming off the bench, no matter how much you try and assure kids or encourage them, they know they're coming in. They often play a little bit more afraid of making a mistake and coming out. And just because that's the rotation, not because of what they did. Mm-hmm. And so even though you're going to play them through mistakes, their rotations are smaller, and they just get in that tension. So to be able to play them from extended periods, to have them come back and maybe miss a shot or turn the ball over and then come back and guard and make the next play, that was really, really big, I think, for their development. And you never know. Trinity was playing great, then goes down in the St. Mary game, and next player up. And so you never know who's going to be sick, who's going to have the flu, who's going to get hurt, who's not playing well, and somebody's got to be ready to step in. So those kind of games are really important to develop the depth on our team.
Head women's basketball coach at Friends University, Dean Jaderston, here on the Friends Basketball Show on ESPN Wichita 92.3 FM. 12 consecutive wins for the Friends women's basketball team. The streak stops at 12 in a big game on Saturday on the road in Hillsboro against the Tabor Blue Jays. You win. It's a three-way tie atop the KCAC standings. If you lose, well, there goes the win streak. But not all hope is lost considering what's coming up next week in the KCAC postseason tournament. But anytime you have this type of game, I feel like in Hillsboro against Tabor, it's Sean Reed's been doing this for a long time. He kind of knows what buttons to press at the right moments, and it also helps, too, when they knock down some threes right off the bat. And there's no doubt that Tabor was hit some outside shots, and Tabor's the one that came out on top 61-45. What'd you see from this past weekend?
It's a really the games within the game on that night are really intriguing to analyze. We spent some time yesterday in film with our girls. There's some things we did extremely well. One of the big things about playing Tabor is you got to guard them without fouling. You got to guard without fouling. They shot 4 free throws. We talked about how we struggled from the rebounding from the perimeter, and I think we got like 36 or 37% of our offensive rebound chances, which is huge. Our goal is 30. We had 77% of our defensive rebound chances. Our goal is 70. So we were well above those effort kind of goals. It was our worst free throw shooting game of the season, and it was our worst field goal shooting game since Thanksgiving. And there's a lot of reasons that may or may not go into that, and some of it's Tabor's defense, some of it may be us. Free throws are free throws. Doesn't matter who's guarding you or what you're doing if you get your chance to make free throws. So on a night when we didn't shoot it well, on a night when to beat Tabor, it's tough to beat them once they get a lead because they're just going to grind you. They're going to run their stuff. They're going to use 20, 25 seconds on the shot clock. And so you're trying to speed them up, then you got to trap them and do some different things. We had a stretch in the first quarter where we switched defenses and we had this huge mental lapse. We gave up 5 threes in a row, and actually it ended up being 6 with a couple possessions later. 6 open looks to players that we knew we weren't going to give open looks to. They hit all 6 of them. And there's this giant momentum swing, and the rest of the game was defined by that, and we're always trying to climb uphill. And our kids fought. They competed on a night we were shooting poorly. We went from being down, I think, 15 or 18 to minute 30 left in the third quarter. We get a wide open look at a 3 that cuts it to 5. And so our kids played, but that gap was just so big to overcome. And it was a tough one. Maybe 3 times we had 4 people playing one defense, and a fifth kid playing somebody else, and so there was an area in the zone that got left open. And to Tabor's credit, they hit a shot every single time. So there's a lot of things about that game. Our team fought, they competed, the effort stats were there. We can't turn the ball over 19 times against Tabor.
Yeah.
There was an 18-4 points off turnovers gap. And so I showed the team, I said, if you take off the points we gave up transition off turnovers, and you take those 15 points off of threes, the rest of the game you allowed 28 points. So for the vast majority of the game, there was a really good defensive game that was played. Our turnovers killed us. Our shooting percentage killed us. And it was a tough one. But if you look at the big picture down the stretch, even if we had won, yes, we would have had to share the title. Tabor still had the 1 seed. You're still going to be fighting through all the way there. And candidly, it exposed some things that had slipped. And our team's like, oh, yeah, now we got to get back to it. So we get a chance. Last year we lost with 2 games to go in the regular season. Okay, here we go. This last week, let's start the new winning streak. Let's get refocused and go on a run. So we're hoping to repeat the same thing this year.
Yeah, you read my mind. That was going to be my next thing was, well, hey, there's a new win streak that needs to be built. At this point in the season, rather have a loss take place now than next week when you might have an early exit in which you guys are trying to make it to the national tournament. So this is maybe the right time to kind of refocus, and certainly you have one more week of basketball to go. You have to go on the road to York coming up on Wednesday. You then come back, you take on Avila on Saturday, and Senior Day, not entirely uneventful at Friends University because I know there'll be some other people on it, but I know the men's side there's not many, and here on the women's side, well, you have Cassie Kinneberg. But I want to give you a chance to kind of open the floor, though, talk about Cassie, because she's one of those players that have been around for a long time, and she's not one that's going to have the eye-popping stat numbers, but she has been one of those program people that you need in order to be successful.
Cassie was the first player I officially normally recruited. We got here, we had to scramble and get a bunch of kids that summer. But then over the course of the year, okay, who are we trying to bring in? Cassie was at Valley Center. Spent a lot of time chasing her around. Extraordinary young woman. Worked hard, came out, scored, I think, 16 her very first college game. Her second or third game, she tears her labrum. Her shoulder comes out at Bethany in a very hard, painful injury. And she's battled that for 4 years. She's had surgery. She's rehabbed it. It's popped out again. I don't think anybody realizes how much pain Cassie goes through on a daily basis. And it doesn't affect her grades. It doesn't affect her leadership. She's one of the leaders in her FCA program at school. She's been an RA for 3 years. And maybe just our toughest. She's going to bang. She's going to compete. Her shoulder's going to pop, and she can hardly lift her arm, but she'll come back and play left-handed until it settles down. And there's an integrity and a maturity and a depth of character about her that gives substance to our team. And we are going to miss her a ton. She's remarkable. She's been accepted into Wichita State's PT program, which is one of the tops in the nation. And she's going to excel there. It's amazing to watch how people change when they come in as a freshman, how they grow, how they work through adversity. And Cassie has done everything we could have hoped for as a player, as a person. And we would not be having the success that we have if it wasn't for her.
Yeah, and in today's day and age of college basketball, it's harder and harder to have some of you around for 4 years, 5 years, whoever it might be.
Especially players who are going to contribute every year. A lot of kids, if they're not going to play right away as a freshman, they're going to go JUCO or do something else. And then with everybody transferring the way they do, it's one of the losses in college basketball. You don't have the face recognition nearly the way you used to. You don't have those kids who they've been through the good days and they've been through the really, really hard days, and they come out stronger and they come out better. And Cassie's done that.
No doubt. All right, Coach. Well, thank you so much for your time here today. Best of luck this week.
Thank you very much.
Dean Jaderston, head women's basketball coach at Friends University, here on the Friends Basketball Show on ESPN Wichita 92.3 FM. 2 more games in the regular season for Friends women's basketball. Coming up on Wednesday, a road trip to Nebraska to take on the York Panthers. After that, Saturday, it will be senior day at Friends University inside the Garvey Center as the Falcons play host to the Avila Eagles. 1 o'clock is when coverage officially begins. You can catch it on Cox 122 in the KCAC network. And don't forget, next week, with the Friends women's basketball team having a top 4 seed, they will have a home game next Wednesday. 7 o'clock would be my assumption on the game time. I know things might change at the last second, but at the very least, get plans for Wednesday because KCAC postseason tournament action is here, and the Friends women's basketball team trying to get to Hartman Arena for the 2nd consecutive year, and this time trying to come out on top with the KCAC postseason tournament championship. So mark that down on your calendars next week on Wednesday, 7 o'clock, more than likely, inside the Garvey Center. We appreciate Walk On Sports Bistreaux for letting us come out here and broadcast the show. It's always a great time, great TVs on the wall, so no matter where you sit, you're going to have the ability to watch a game that you want to watch. You can also get some awesome food, too. You can always get great food here at Walk On Sports Bistreaux, located on Mays Road. Appreciate their support throughout the entire year. Only 2 more Friends basketball shows to go. Next week, we'll have the Friends men's basketball final, I guess, with Phil McClintock. And then after that, hopefully, maybe we're talking about NAIA postseason basketball with Dean Jaderston when we get to that point. Well, on behalf of Dean Jaderston, I'm Pat Strathman saying so long from Walk On Sports Bistreaux. Thanks for watching and listening to another edition of the Friends Basketball Show on ESPN Wichita 92.3 FM.